InsyaAllah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we begin our session today with kita Al-Fatihah. So Alhamdulillah, we have been chosen to join the session of today, which is Ibadah Camp 1.2, which is this Ibadah Camp had been conducted by Majlis FS students, and this Ibadah Camp has been participated by from AED student, the dentist, medic and pharmacy students. So before we proceed with the opening speech from Brother Sharif, we explain about how the program will begin and end. Which is for the first session we have program time management by Ustaz Muhammad Ikmal Hakimi bin Muhammad Helmi from 9 to 10:30 a.m. And after that we have a short break, which is only 30 minutes. We can continue that. Then after that we will continue with the talk 2, which is meant as by students by Madam Hafiza Saidin. And the last session from 2 to 3:30 p.m. we have talk 3 by Ustazah Nur Ashiki binti Idris, which is Mau'izatul Hasanah. So without we wait for a long time, I will proceed to Mr. Sharif to proceed with the welcoming remarks. Tafadhal mashkura.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Innal hamdalillah wa nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh. Wa na'udzu billahi min syururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lah wa man yudlil fala hadiya lah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Okay, thanks to Brother Faris. Can you hear me, Brother Faris? And all of you?
Can sir.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, long time no see, Brother Faris. Okay.
Yes.
Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He is the most gracious and merciful. We are given the opportunity to increase our knowledge, faith and deeds in the Ibadah Camp program. First of all, I would like to thanks to my team, Masjid CFS team, led by Ustazah Nur Adilah, assisted by Ustaz Mahfuz, Ustazah Nur Azlina, Ustaz Hafizuddin, Brother Rizal, in organizing this beneficial program to all CFS students. I would like to thank all the participants who took the time to participate in this program. The session consists of architecture and environmental design, dentistry, medicine and pharmacy students. For your information, Ibadah Camp is a compulsory program to all CFS students. Previously, the program known as ILTRA, Islamic Leadership Training, and then changed to Lead Train, Leadership and Training, Leadership Training, and now it's known as Ibadah Camp. The students need to participate in this program once for per academic year according to the schedule provided by Ibadah Camp Secretariat. Aims of the program is to produce holistic students of CFSIUM that excels in duniawi and ukhrawi. It means bijak sana, bijak sini, bijak di dunia dan bijak di akhirat. Ibadah Camp program, previously, Ibadah Camp program has 5 sessions. During face-to-face mode, we have a taught man as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have a man as vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have adab and virtue in Islam, ethics. And we have also time management and qiyamul layl. Now, during online mode, we just focus on 3 sessions. Inshallah, talk time management, delivered, inshallah, delivered by Al-Fadil, Ustaz Muhammad Ikmal Hakimi bin Muhammad Hilmi from Quranic Language Department. Inshallah, from this talk, you can get input pertaining significance of time in Islam, punctuality, and planning. And then we have also today in session 2 at 12, taught by Madam Nur Hafizah Saidin from Mathematics Department on topic man as a vicegerent. Inshallah, from this topic, you can get input pertaining the trust, responsibility, istiqamah, honesty, passion, and justice. And then we have another session at 2 p.m. On topic Mau'izatul Hasanah, delivered by Ustazah Nur Ashikin Idris from Quranic Language Department. So I think that's all from me. If you have any inquiries, please don't hesitate to refer the Secretariat of Program. We Masjid CFS, IIUM, as organizer for the program, pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hopes that this program will achieve all its objective. One must thank and appreciation to those who giving their support and cooperation in realizing this program directly and indirectly. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward those who do good deeds the best for him. Enjoy your program. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, thank you Mr. Sharif, Ustaz Muhammad Sharif for the welcome remarks. So without waiting for a long time, we will proceed to our main agenda, our main program, which is talk first by Ustaz Muhammad Hikmah Hakimi, which is time management. So tafadhal mashkur Ustaz.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So first of all, thank you to Brother Master of Ceremony, Brother Faris Fikri, Ustaz Sharif, and the Secretariat of this Ibadah camp. Before I start, can I have the access to share the screen? Or I already have the access? Okay, I already have the access. Okay, thank you. So let me share the screen first. Okay, everybody can listen to my, everybody can listen to me, right? Like my voice.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, basically, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We'd like to express our gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity that we can be here together. Although this is a virtual one, it is not something that we can see each other in a real life face to face, but it's still fine. I'm fine with it, as if because we can still get the things that we want to achieve from this program. So this is the first slot of this Ibadah Camp 1.2, which is the time management. So because this is the very morning session and the very first session, I'm not going to talk alone. So we would have two-way communication, as in a two-way communication sessions, and I hope that everybody can join me throughout the sessions. So before we start, so this is my topic, which is time management. And let me introduce myself first. My name is Muhammad Iqbal Hakimi from the Department of Quranic Language, Center for Foundation Studies, IIUM. So what are we going to have throughout this session is that the first one, so here are the contents of these sessions. I would love to start this session with time in Al-Quran, meaning that we have a lot of words describing times and has been mentioned in Al-Quran. So we are going to look into a few of them. I'm not going to look into each and every words describing about time in Al-Quran. We'll just look into something, some words or few words that I think it might be something very important for us. And then number two, which is the forgotten one. You will know what is meant by the phrase the forgotten once we reach to this part. And the third part will be the tips and tricks, which is how we can manage our time as a student for specifically. And then the last session will be the Q&A session. So we are going to have these four sessions throughout this time management slot. So let us start with the first one, time in Al-Quran. So before I mention to you, or before I start with the words or the kalimat in Al-Quran that mentions or that describes about times any of you, do any of you know what are the words or what are the time mentioned in Al-Quran in any surah? Can I have any answers here?
Me.
Yeah, sure.
The Quran mentioned about the time in Surah Al-As, Wal-As.
Al-Asr. Okay. Thank you, Danish.
Okay.
So, Al-Asr. So what are the other words? Selain daripada Wal-Asr. So it's going to be English, Malay ke something like that. So what are the other words selain daripada Wal-Asr? Diam je semua. Okay. Yes, when we are talking about times, most of us will remember about Surah Al-Asr, which is the word Al-Asr itself means time. So wal-asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus salihat wa tawassaw bil haqq wa tawassaw bis sabr. But there are many other words describing about times in Al-Quran. So here are some of the words in Al-Quran that describes about time. The first one is Al-Asr, which means times. The second one is Al-Layl. What does Layl mean? I think most of you are taking, I think not most of you, all of you are taking Arabic language, right, in this campus. So what is meant by Al-Layl? This is the word that we have learned in level 1. Yes. What is meant by Layl? Al-Layl?
Malam.
Malam, night. So we have Layl في Surah Al-Baqarah. One of the verse that mention about this word is in Surah Al-Baqarah, which is إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار. So we have Al-Layl wal-Nahar. Al-Layl is malam, Al-Nahar siang. We have another one which is Sabah. We have Al-Fajr. We have Ad-Duha. We have Mal-Akhir. Apa lagi? So here are some of the words that mention about times, which these words differ from one another in terms of time, like in terms of the period of times in a day. So when we are talking about the words that has been mentioned in Al-Quran, we can see that most of these words is being used by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in form of macam swearing on something, macam dia guna untuk wal fajr, demi waktu fajar, wad duha, demi waktu duha. It shows that how much time is important for us in as a Muslim as well as human being. So one of the thing that we can see, for example, in Surah, we have few surah by the name of times kan, macam al-layl, by the night. We have Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, wal-layli idha yaghsha, wan-nahari idha tajalla. By the night when it covers, and by the day when it appears. So basically, we have these words, well, we have many words mentioning about times in Al-Quran, and each and every words used or mentioned in Al-Quran about time has its own significance, which I'm not going to explain more about these things because I don't think that we are going to have a session about why do Allah use these words, or why do Allah mention about time in these verses of Al-Quran. But we are going to talk more about how or why is how to manage our time, and why is it important to manage our time. So these are the words of some ataupun few words that have been mentioned in Al-Quran about time. So moving on to the second part, which is the forgotten one. So what is meant by the forgotten? So there is a hadith narrated by Ibn Abbas, and Ibn Abbas قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ. Ibn Abbas narrated that the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, two favors that many of the people squander are health and free time. If you look into this hadith, you will see that these are the two things that somehow, when people have these two favors, they tend to what do we call it? When we have free time, we tend to procrastinate the time. When we have the good health, we tend to take this situation or this favor for granted. For example, I give you a very common example. You have a free time, as in you only take 2 or 3 subjects per semester during your final semester, for example, because why we have three long semesters right now. So during your first semesters, maybe you have like 5 to 6 subjects, which ranging from 16 to 18 credit hours, which you don't have that much time, that much free time. But when you're going to the third semester, which is the final semester, sometimes most of you will only have 2 or 3 or maybe 4 subjects, which is fewer than the first and the second semester. During that time, you feel that you have many free times, you have many times to complete things, and you tend to procrastinate this situation. And what happened next is that even you have that free times, I mean like more free times compared to the previous semesters, yet you have faced the same problems, which is you face the problems of completing tasks and assignments. Because why? You think that, yeah, if I can really complete it right now, I still have time. I don't really have many classes to attend. I don't really have many activities to do. So you tend to think that you have more times to complete things until you come into the until you come into a situation in which you don't have time to complete, or you don't have sufficient or enough time to complete the task. So why did I put this image here? This is us when we have free time, I think. When we have free times, although we have many assignments to be completed, what are we doing is that we just do nothing, play with our phones, watching movies, for example. I'm not saying that watching movies, playing with your mobile phones, playing games, do nothing, you cannot do all these things. But what I'm going to focus here is that you may do those things, but you have to manage your time. Yes, you have free time. Yes, you have more times to complete your task. Yet you have to manage when are you going to complete this task, When are you going to have a rest? When are you going to have a movie session, for example? When are you going to have a me time or something like that? Because why? Because uh taking or doing assignments or completing assignments throughout the day will make you stress. Me myself will feel so if I'm only focusing on doing or completing things without having sometimes for me to rest or to have sort of me time macam tu. Because of that, we have to remember that free time, you must not take free time for granted. So you have to manage your times well so that you will not feel stressful, you will not face problems at the end of the day, and you will complete the task given in the allocated times without struggle. What is meant by struggle here is that you can complete it macam gradually, meaning that when you have a task given for 2 weeks time, for example, so you may complete it gradually. It is not something a 2 week assignment punya masa, but you will only complete it in a 2 hours punya duration. Itu yang menyebabkan that is why most of you will feel stressful with the assignment. Yes, I know that you have what do you call it? 6 subjects, and you will have 6 different assignments. Yet these 6 different assignments, I think, when you really manage your time, when you really slot in any of these assignments into the free time that you have, and I think you will complete it. Like, yes, you might be stressful of completing that things, but it is not that stressful compared to where you complete it last minute. So this hadith shows that people tend to forget doing things. People tend to forget to complete things when and people tend to forget Allah as well when they are healthy and they have free times. So I've mentioned about those who have free times, right? Let us see to someone who have a very packed or hectic schedule in his life as a student. For I have experienced both situations in which I have during my first year, first semester degree, because I am a direct intake student when I was in Gombak. I'm not a CFS student. So when as a direct intake student, during the Ta'aruf week, we have to sit for APT and EPT examination. So the results of APT and EPT will only during my time was on the 4th day of week 1, which is the on Thursday of week 1. I have to wait for the APT and EPT result until I can register for subjects in kuliah. Because why? Because if we don't pass or we don't exempt from APT or EPT in Gombak, we can't go through the kuliah. We have to sit for APT and EPT for the whole semester first. So we have to wait for the results until we can register. So what happened is that because I can only register my subjects during the 4th day of the first week, which all of the students have attended the classes for at least 1 or 2 classes. What happened is that I can't really have the maximum, I can only have the minimum numbers of subjects, which is I only registered for 4 subjects because only 4 subjects are still available for me to register. What happened is that I only have 4 subjects throughout the semester. I only have 12.5 credit hours during that semester. You can imagine that you only have 1 or 2 classes in a day from 8 to 5, which you only have less than 3 hours when your classes in a day. So you will have quite you have more free times compared to the others. But what happened is that I tend to think that, yeah, I don't really have many things to do. I don't really have many subjects to study. So I tend to uh, postpone doing things until I have to struggle very much at the end of at the end of the what do we call that, when we are about to have when we are about to submit the assignments. So it is very different when I was in my final year final semesters, which I registered for how many of the subjects at that time. I can't really remember how many subjects, but it is about 8 to 9 subjects. But I can remember the credit hours. My final year final semester credit hours was 26 credit hours. And during that time, almost every day from Monday to Thursday, I have a very full hectic classes from 8 to 5. And not only that, I have to attend debate trainings during that semesters. And we have like 2 or 3 big tournaments. So meaning that I don't really have times to complete things. I don't really have time to allocate my times to complete my assignments and everything. But what is impressive is that I can read. I do what I did is that I can complete all the assignments on time, and I don't really feel the struggle of completing things, because I think during that times or during that semesters, I have the feeling of, oh, I I have many subjects to study. I have many things to do. I have to attend trainings. I have to attend classes. I have my classes during from 8 to 5 every day. So I have to find a very what do we call that? I have to allocate as much time as I can in any gap between things for me to complete things. And what happened is that most of my assignments during that semester, I can complete it earlier than the deadline or the due date. So the main important things, the main things here is that when you have free times, you tend to take it for granted. But when you have you don't really have free times, you will manage the times well. So things that you have to bear in mind is that if you have free time, you don't have to take it. You must not take it for granted. You must not procrastinate the times. But if you don't have many times to do things, you don't take it as an excuse for not completing things. You have to look for the gap times or the free times that you have in between classes or in between the things and the activities that you attend, so that you can complete things, especially when it comes to a group assignment. Please don't take these things as an excuse. For example, you have a group assignment and you are a student in which you have in which that during that semester, that particular semesters, you have a lot of subjects that you have a lot of subjects, which is ranging from 6 to 7 subjects, for example, and you have positions as well in society, for example, which makes you to attend to attend meetings and to have activities to be conducted and everything else. And what did you do is that you have you take this situation as an excuse for you to not joining the group to complete the assignment. This is not a good thing. This is not something that you must do. This is something that you must not do. You don't have you cannot take everything that you have in your life as an excuse for not completing things. You have to look for something that can make you to cope with the situation so that you can complete the things and achieve the goals or the objectives or the purpose of doing that things. So this is the first things, the forgotten. So you have to remember these two things are the most forgotten things in our life. But from now on, you have to not forget these two things as it is very important for us. So since we have been talking about the free time and the health, so now let us move into the most important, which is the idea of this lot, which is the time management. So here are the some of the before that, this one. So as a student, since you are still new in this university life, it is not that new lah, but this is we are almost at the end of the opening. We are almost to the end of this first semester. So do you think the task is equal to the time that you have as a student? Can I have anybody? Yes, do you think task and times, I mean like the task given is equal to the times that you have? Do you have enough time to complete the task, or do you have enough time to allocate for your task as well as your time for yourself? Yes, anybody?
In my opinion, yes.
Yes. So how do you manage your time?
I recently used a planner so that I would not leave any task to do, and I will allocate an ample time for me time.
Okay. Mentioning about the planner, I think most of us during the very beginning of the semester, we will have these very fancy planner and you write down everything on your planner. But my question is that how do you make yourself stick to the planner?
Every morning, I would write what I would do for that day with the time. And before I sleep, I would make sure all of these things are done. If not, I would bring it forward for tomorrow. But I would make sure that it will not be more than 2 days.
Okay. So, any other one? Anyone else? I think having a planner is something that most people will have. I mean, like they will during in the beginning of the semesters or in the beginning of a new year, you will see that many people will share a very fancy planner so that everybody can use the planner. It is either a daily planner or a weekly planner or a monthly planner. But jotting down the things to do, it might seem very easy, but to stick with the to be a very disciplined person, to stick with what we jot down on the planner is something that is very difficult for us to do. For example, when we wake up in the morning, we have a daily planner, which is we have listed down what are we going to do during the day, listing down the things or preparing the schedule of the day is not that difficult. But how far can you follow the schedule that you have been prepared, you have prepared is something that is very difficult. So this is the thing that you have to practice well, because listing down the things is not sufficient to have a very good time management. So, anyone else? Or can we proceed? I don't think that we have anybody. So let us proceed with the third session, the third part, which is the tips and tricks. So here are the 7 things or the 7 tips and tricks that you may practice in your life in order to manage your times well. So I'm going to go through one by one. We have 7 here. So let us move on to the first one. The first one is start the day with a purpose. What is meant by start a day with a purpose? We, as all of us know, that life is a merely short rest, or is a merely short pit stop on the journey to the hereafter. We are not going to live in this world for forever, but this is just a pit stop or just a very short rest stop on the journey to the hereafter. So don't wait until tomorrow to change for the better. So what we have to do is, the first thing is that you have to start today, because tomorrow might never come though. So because why? We don't know what will happen tomorrow. We don't know what will happen in the future. So we have to start everything today. So how to start everything today is that you have to start the day with a purpose. Because Islam emphasizes the importance of time management. So we have to have a purpose in order to manage our times well. So what is meant by start your day with a purpose? So you have to have what is the purpose of the day. You have, for example, it is not something yang macam very big or very idealistic. You have to start with a purpose that is very realistic lah. You have to differentiate between two things, the idealistic one and the realistic one. Most of the time, we tend to be we tend to have a purpose or an aim of our life. There is something, it seems or it sounds like it is achievable. It sounds like it is very good things or very good purpose, but then you have to ensure that the things that you have you aim for is something that is very realistic. What is meant by realistic here is that you can achieve that things. You have to look into yourself. Can I achieve this purpose? Can I achieve this aim at the end of the day? Or it is just an aim, or it is just a purpose in which you can't really achieve it, or you can't really complete it at the end of the day. So when we are going to start our day with a purpose, this purpose must be something that we can achieve at the end of the day. This purpose is something that we can complete at the end of the day. There are two things, there are two consequences of having an idealistic purpose instead of a realistic purpose. First one, if you have or if you start the day with a very idealistic purpose, what will happen is that you can't achieve the purpose that you have for the day. So when you can't really achieve the purpose of the day, it is something like a very waste of times doing things, but we can't really achieve the objective of doing that things. That is the first one. Yes, Ahmad Shamil, do you have any questions? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. So the first one is that it is a waste of time of doing things, but we can't really achieve or gain the objective. The second one, when you put or when you start the day with a very idealistic purpose, what will happen is that you will struggle in achieving that things. Why? Because you come up with a purpose that you yourself can't really have it. You don't have to start with a very high aim or very high purpose punya benda. You can start with a very basic things. For example, you have we have during the weekend, for example. I'm not saying that you have to study throughout the weeks. During the weekdays, of course, you have to attend the classes. But during the weekend, for example, you have to allocate some times for your for yourself to rest or to have a very weekend things lah. But then you have to, for example, on Saturday, for example, you set a purpose of this weekend so that you can have something like non-academic things. For example, you can complete a chapter of a book, for example, or maybe you can, if you want to include your assignments during the weekend, maybe you can set a purpose of completing how many percent of the assignment, 20% of the assignments on Saturday. So set the aim of the purpose that you can, that is achievable, and that is what a realistic purpose mean. So here is the first tip. You have to have a purpose. You have to start the day with a purpose. So then, and that purpose must be something that is realistic, and it is not something that is idealistic. You have to differentiate between a very idealistic purpose. It sounds very nice to have. It sounds very, what do we call that? Sedap didengar. But it is not, if it is not something that is achievable, so it means nothing. It will waste your time. So that is the first trick or the first tips. Moving on to the second one. Second one is early bird catches the worm. What does it mean by early bird catches the worm? When we are talking about classes, when we are talking about daily life as a students, most of us will make things something like macam, because during the weekdays, we have to wake up early for classes and everything. So you will have macam you will allocate your times for during the weekend for you to sleep more. Sometimes I'm not saying that you can't really wake up a little bit late during the weekend. For example, lewat sikit lah compared to the weekdays. But what the problem is that most of us will take this for something like macam a very late punya benda. Sometimes it is almost Zuhur and you will just wake up. So second things is you have to bear in mind is that you have to start your day early. Because Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has made the early hours blessed for the whole creatures. So you have to wake up early so that your hours will be blessed. And what is meant by wake up early is that you have to start your day very early. So for example, sekarang saya rasa macam most of you during CFS ataupun during your foundation studies, your subjects or your schedule or your timetable, academic timetable tu has been scheduled by the ODAI. But when it comes to degree life, you will choose or you will choose the subjects by yourself. You will choose the section by yourself. You will choose the time by yourself. Most of students will not take ataupun will not choose classes that start at 8. Kalau during the pre-req punya sessions kan, you'll see that many available sections that are still available for us to register. Most of them are classes that start at 8:30 AM. And most classes yang dah habis, dah tak available is that something yang paling lewat is paling awal is that 10 AM. So most of you sometimes tend to choose something that is that starts not that early lah in the morning. But then you have to remember, when you start some things very early, you feel different though. If you don't trust me, you can try these things. For example, during the weekend, you wake up early, you wake up for your subuh prayer, for example, and then after that, you don't sleep after the subuh prayer. you go I mean, like, you can go for something like having breakfast outside ke, ataupun having breakfast with your family, and then after that you will do something macam house chores ke, something like that, maybe prep for something, and then by the time you reach 10 a.m. or something like that, you will feel that it has been a very long day. There's something like you feel that 3 to 4 hours from subuh tu sampai ke pukul 10 is something yang macam sangatlah panjang yang boleh dibuat macam-macam benda. That is different if you wake up late tau. For example, you wake up at 10, you only what you only do is that you go to take a bath and then you go for your sort of late breakfast, and then suddenly you look at the apa ni, you look at the clock, dah pukul 12, but then you still did apa, you still do nothing tau untuk the day. I don't know how that things happen, but that is how you feel when you wake up early. You will feel like 2 or 3 hours yang pagi tu akan rasa panjang lagi tau daripada something yang bila awak bangun pukul 10 pagi. So tend to, dia macam, sebab tu better bangun pagi, apa, you have to wake up early. And then waking up early doesn't mean that you have to wake up throughout the days. Sebab itulah bila we have qailullah kan right before the Zuhur prayer. You can sleep when you wake up early, for example, when you wake up for your subuh prayer and then after subuh prayer you didn't go for sleep. By the time 12 to 12:30 p.m. sometimes you will feel a little bit sleepy. So by the time tu, sebab tu kita apa ni, ada dianjurkan untuk qailullah sekejap kan sebelum Zuhur prayer, so that before Zuhur prayer tu kita bolehlah go for a sleep, short bukan sleep lah, go for a nap before Zuhur, and then after that you can continue with Zuhur prayer and your activities. So early bird catches the worm ni antara benda yang kita selalu dengar pun, we have apa, dengar sebelum ni dah banyak kali. So this is the second things. Many things on the chat box. Banyak nak masuk. Okay, next. Moving on to the third things. Kenapa tak bergerak? Okay. So the third one is first thing first. This is what the we have to do. Kejap bateri saya nak habis ke? Sebentar. Nak plug in bateri jap. Okay, the third thing is first thing first. So I've mentioned about having a purpose during the day, which is you have to start your day with a purpose. And that purpose must be something that is realistic and not something that is idealistic. So in order to have or to gain or to achieve that purpose, you have to wake up early, which is the early bird catches the worm. And then the next thing is that you have to have this this thing, which is first thing first. First thing first here, meaning that you have to have a very to-do list for the day. So having this to-do list for the day is not something that you just have to list down everything that you want to do on the day, but then you have to prioritize what are the things that you have to complete first, followed by the last priority punya benda. So the art of doing to-do list ataupun listing down the first the most ataupun the priorities ni is something yang very quite difficult lah sebenarnya. You have to prepare, or you have to manage you have to list down everything, and then you have to rearrange the things so that you can prioritize the most important things to be completed first. But when you are listing down the things for you to do in a day, you have to bear in mind that you have to allocate, or you have to leave some gaps for unexpected things. For example when we have a very to-do list kan, contoh pagi, okay, we have class at 8. We have we have class at 8 to 12 for example, and then pukul 12 tu awak dah tulis kat situ, okay, I have to go to going to the library for apa benda ke, ataupun meeting someone ke apa ke. You don't really have to make it betul-betul sharp 12. If you have some class sampai pukul 12, jangan buat appointment dengan orang tepat pukul 12. Sebab apa? I'm not someone yang suka menunggu actually. I'm someone yang very punctual. When bila kita kata pukul 12, it means that you have to be there by 12. It is not the things that you have to be there at 12, but it is something that you have to be there by 12. What is meant by 12 is that you have to be there earlier than the time that you have mention untuk jumpa lah. So when we have something that will end at 12, don't start something at 12 as well. Because why? We don't really know either the things that is scheduled to complete at 12 will end at 12. So this is what I mean by leave some gaps for unexpected things. So you have to have a gap of times in between things. So that is why when you go to the main campus later, dia macam akan ada gap in between first session, first class, in between classes. For example, during kat Gombak dia akan ada 10 minutes gap in between classes, so that you have times for you to move from class to another, from a venue to another. To the first one. So you have to list down the things, but you have to bear in mind that you have to leave some gaps for unexpected things. The second one is that you have to avoid perfectionism and in doing things that you have been listed down. Sebab apa? Perfectionism kat sini meaning that you don't want to have any wasted time in your day. For example, from 8 to 10 in 8 in the morning to 10 in at night, you don't want any minutes to be wasted. So you list down everything from 8 to 8:30, 8:30 to 9:30, 9:30 to 12, 12 to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. You don't really allocate any free time for you so that you can have because why? Because you think that it will be such a waste things for you to do. But you have to bear in mind that this is not something yang betul lah. So you have to avoid these things. You have to save sometimes for yourself juga. First thing first doesn't mean that you don't have to allocate your times for yourself. First thing first is something when you have when you make a to-do list for the day or for the week, which you start with the most important task to be completed first until the least important task. Or maybe sometimes you will start with something that requires a lot of energy to do first. Because when we start a day, it must be somehow more energetic compared to the end of the day. So first thing first, meaning that you have to make a to-do list, but leave some gaps for yourself, leave some gaps for unexpected things to do. Avoid perfectionism, meaning that avoid using all the times that you have in a day, because because you think that not using the times that you have is a waste. That is something that you have to avoid. That is the third one, if I'm not mistaken. Saya dah lupa dah nombor berapa. So moving on to the next one. Okay, number 4, multitasking. Sometimes when we are talking about multitasking, people will tend to amaze with somebody or someone that who are able to multitask. But actually, multitasking is not a good thing. So multitasking for me, in managing times well, multitasking is not a good thing. The reason is that when you multitask, I mean like when you do or you complete many tasks at the same time, you will not complete things very well, but you will only do some things like macam asal boleh, asal siap, faham ke? So that is why I'm saying about multitasking is not a no-no. That is the first one. The first one is that you will complete it macam asal boleh, asal siap. The second one is that when you multitask in doing things, you tend to feel very stressful. You will be depressed with the things that you are doing. You will feel that, oi, banyaknya kerja aku nak kena siapkan. That is why multitasking is not good. Sebab itulah sebelum datang ke multitasking tadi, saya mention about first thing first. It is not something yang macam dua-dua benda akan sama dia punya priority. Somehow when you look into some things, you will see that, oh, this one is more important than this one. So because of this level of importance to berbeza, that is why you can come up with which one you must do first and which one you will do later. So that is why I'm saying that multitasking is not a good thing. So next one is, what do we have here? Go for a healthy you. Okay, so we have talked about things that you have to do in a daily life as students. So that is something related with the task given to you. And now, not only that you have to complete all the tasks given to you, you have to what do we call that? Take good care of take good care of yourself. Because why? If you are sick, you can't complete the task. If you are not in a good condition, you can't complete the task. So what is important here is that you have to go for a healthy you, meaning that you have to allocate some times for yourself to rest. You have to you have to take a good, healthy food or drinks. I'm saying this because why? What I have been observing throughout these few years, ataupun dari zaman-zaman saya belajar dulu lagi lah, when we do things as a student, we tend to skip meals. For example, dah lah bangun lewat. Dah lah weekend bangun lewat ataupun sehari-sehari tu bangun lewat. Of course, breakfast dah out. Terus ke lunch. And then during the lunch, it's okay lah, it's fine bila ambil lunch. But the problem is that bila awak punya next meal tu dia macam, okay, not only that you don't take a proper diet, a proper dinner dan sebagainya, and then many of us tend to have ataupun tend to consume something that is unhealthy. For example, tengah-tengah discussion, during the discussion, confirm ada keropok lah, jajan lah, apa-apa. And then we tend to complete things sampai satu tahap you forget to have rest, which benda tu adalah something that is very important for your mental health as well as your physical health. These two things are the most important things. Dia macam tak nampak macam time management sangat, but then it really dia macam berkaitan juga dengan time management, because you have to manage your times in order for you to take good care of your mental health and your physical health. You can't really sit in front of your laptop or your PC starting from 8 in the morning until 10 at night for you to only completing all the assignments. It is not a good daily lifestyle. You have to, paling bagus is that you just have to sit, for example, selalunya I will after 1 hour ataupun paling lama is 2 hours time, I will have a rest about 20 minutes, something like that. And during that 20 minutes, since we are now having a virtual classes, virtual things to do, so we sit in front of laptop so for a very long period of time. So during that 20 minutes, I will make sure myself not looking at any devices. Satu, nak menjaga kesihatan mata tu. Yang kedua is that I want to have a very macam sort of me time dengan myself sendiri lah, so that I'm not getting into the works too much. I'm not getting into the task too much, so that you can somehow boleh help your yourself to calm down sikit after very hectic punya benda, a very stressful punya benda. So this is one of the most important things that you have to manage in your daily life. Next one is that exercise regularly. This is I don't think that we have much problem in doing this because what benda ni is something yang especially boys lah. I don't think that we have problem with this. Sebab nak tak nak selalunya lelaki-lelaki yang kita ada dekat sini ni, after asar dia akan cari juga masa untuk dia beriadah lah, exercise regularly. Satu, to avoid any physical problems lah. And then one more thing is that when you go for exercise, at least you have something else to do instead of only having focusing on the assignments or on the academic things yang you have during the day. So this is the number berapa? Number 6, right? So why we have to exercise regularly? Because exercise is not only boost your energy for your other daily activities, but moreover, it gives you something like a better health and prevention from diseases. So having sit throughout the days in front of the laptop is not something that is very good. So if you are very macam susah untuk exercise regularly, you just have to make sure that you have at least 3 times a week. And that 3 times a week too, it can be a 30 minutes walk, something like that lah. It is up to your ability, it is up to your preference lah. When you are at home, I think having macam siapa-siapa yang duduk kat kampung-kampung ke lagi best sebenarnya. Tambah-tambah kalau rumah dikelilingi dengan pokok-pokok yang berdaun yang selalu luruh. Oi, you don't have to walk pun actually. You just have to petang-petang tu pergilah duduk depan rumah tu, cakap sampah daun-daun tu sikit. Jangan lepas tu kumpulkan daun-daun kering dan sebagainya tu pun dah cukup untuk keluarkan peluh actually. So this is what we have to do. We have to manage in our daily life. And the last one is that you have to find your inner call. What is meant by your inner call is that you have to boost your self-esteem by practicing good hobbies, for example. What we have right now is that we have a virtual class. We have online distance learning. So when we have online distance learning, the situation is very different. We can't really meet our friends. We don't have any friends with us. We don't have someone that can sort of bagi kita that environment to study tau. So because of that, you have to build up your own self-esteem ataupun your own self-confidence environment untuk awak rasa yang I'm a student, so awak kena cari that environment untuk belajar dan sebagainya. Susah sebenarnya when we are having this online distant learning. Sebab when we are having this online distant learning, first awak tak ada orang-orang yang akan sama-sama dengan awak untuk study dan sama-sama. Beza tau. When we have friends with us and we are not having those friends with us during study. And then the second one is that you have the burden of macam doing things dekat setempat je. Dia berbeza situasi bila awak duduk setempat je untuk belajar dengan situasi awak berpindah dari kelas ni ke kelas sana, kelas ni ke kelas sana. Dia akan rasa berbeza dan awak akan jadi stressful sikit bila berada di setempat. So that is why you have to find your inner calm. So my questions here is that, how do you know that you are productive and not just busy? Anyone have the answer? Sometimes we do many things in one day, but the question is that, how do you know that you are productive or you are having a productive day and not just busy doing things? These are two different things now. Having a productive day or having a busy day. So how do you know that you are having a productive day and not a busy day? Anyone have the answer? Or anyone want to share their opinions?
May I try?
Yes, you may. This is not an exam for it, of course.
Okay, so in my opinion, how do I know I am productive or not at that particular day is if I manage to complete the task that I want to complete at that day, I feel that I have been productive at that day. So,
Meaning that when you have the product too, so you are you think that you are productive lah.
yes. But this is just my opinion.
So do you feel that dapat capai the aims to, meaning that you have a productive day lah?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Ada dekat chat ni, Farhan cakap apa? When I feel happy afterwards and not burn out. Yes, that is me. Anyone else? Yes, can we have another person or another student? So basically, kalau untuk saya sendiri lah, how can I differentiate a very productive things and I'm not just being a busy guy, is that I'm not caught up in the same routine every day tau maksudnya. For example when we are completing things, we will do some things sebab kita dah betul-betul set the date to bila nak jadi produktif ni, sebenarnya we have set up the goals and everything. So when we have set up the goals and everything, bila awak dapat achieve the things and not caught up with the same routine every day, macam contoh hari ni buat benda ni lagi, sampai satu tahap awak terfikir, alah benda ni lagi, that thing is not something yang productive dah actually. It is something yang awak dah disibukkan dengan benda tu. So sebenarnya apa yang Farhan cakap is something that is saya sendiri pun rasa benda tu. It is something bila awak feel happy, bila awak dapat complete that things, ataupun at the very least awak dapat ada positive progress dalam doing that thing, itu dah something yang very productive for me. It is not something yang awak buat benda tu throughout the days dari pagi sampai malam, but then tak ada apa-apa progress. Itu busy punya orang tu. That is the difference between productive and busy. So you have to bear in mind that you don't have to be a very busy guy, You don't have to be a very busy student, but you have to be a very productive one. Macam mana nak jadi produktif? Tadilah benda-benda yang saya dah cerita tu. So kalau awak rasa caught up with something tu terlalu lama sampai dah jadi everyday punya routine, padahal task tu is a very macam dia ada limit period of times punya benda, tapi awak rasa benda tu dah macam jadi daily routine, itu maksudnya awak tengah membusykan diri awak, bukan awak tengah menjadi seorang yang produktif. Jadi produktif ni bila mana awak rasa awak boleh at least ada positive progress, at least awak rasa happy lepas tu, and awak akan rasa puas ni, that kepuasan tu, itu adalah being productive, which is not being busy. Yes, not to be a robot, not follow the same routine. So when you manage your time efficiently, you will start to see the results. You will start to feel that you are a very productive one, then not a busy one. So if you caught up if you are caught up in the same routine every day, it means that you are not evolving. Meaning that you are just busy doing things, but you don't really achieve anything by doing that things. Itu yang paling bahaya sebenarnya. Awak buat benda, tapi awak tak dapat apa-apa pun dari benda tu. So, however, tapi kan dia berbeza. Being a busy guy ni doesn't mean that benda tu teruk. Sometimes you can learn things juga lah daripada benda tu, so that you can cope with these things later on. So, the reason to have a very productive thing is that to avoid having the consequences later on. Sebab itulah sekarang bila awak terlalu menyibukkan diri awak dengan some things and not being a productive, sebab tu awak akan rasa tertekan, awak akan rasa macam alah, benda ni lagi ya. Itu yang jadi problem sampai at the end of the day, sampai akan affect awak punya mental health and everything. So, untuk avoid those things, you have to balance ataupun you have to manage your times. Reason? Sebab awak nak kena balance your spiritual and physical activities. Jadi kalau tengok tadi apa yang saya cerita, mostly saya touch on your life as a student is something yang macam physical punya things lah. It is not something yang spiritual. But you have to bear in mind that busy mana pun awak dalam satu hari, you have to allocate some time for you to read Quran. At least 1 page lah. Itu sikit sangat 1 page tu. 1 page per solat lah kot. After solat tu. Satu page tu, it takes you around 3 to 5 minutes lah. At least 1 page. Sebab susah sebenarnya kalau kalau kita tak boleh nak allocate times. Cuba awak fikir some things lah. You can allocate your times to listen to the music. You can allocate your times to watch Netflix. You can allocate your times to watch Squid Game yang ada 6 episod tu. You can allocate your times to watch Alice in Borderland. Nampak sangat aku tengok. Alice in Borderland semua tu. Tapi awak tak boleh allocate your times untuk at least read a page of Quran sehari selepas solat tu. Itu bolehlah reflect balik diri sendiri. Kenapa lah aku rasa susah sangat. Have a good connection with Allah, and then you will feel everything that you do in your life will feel at ease. For example kan, ni one more thing you have to bear in mind. Awak buatlah first thing first macam mana pun, awak list lah to-do list macam mana pun, when it comes to solat punya waktu, please cuba untuk solat di awal waktu. Sebab apa tau? Especially sekarang kalau if you are here in Gambang ataupun in Pahang, kita punya solat Zuhur sekarang 12.55 ke 12.56. Awal nak mampus. We have our Isyak pukul apa 8.11 something. Awal lah. Tak, 8.5 minit. 8.5 minit dah Isyak. So bila awak solat awal waktu Isyak 8.5 minit tu, sekejap lagi kalau lepas 8.5 minit, solat pukul apa? Kalau masjid pun akan habis before 8.30 pun. Tu kira solat jemaah yang kat masjid tu. Kalau solat sendiri-sendiri, kalau 8.5 minit masuk waktu, 8.10 dah settle. Tu laju kat tu. 8.10 dah settle 5 minit. So maksudnya dari 8.10 tu, sampailah awak nak tidur, tipulah awak tidur pukul 10. Saya tahu awak tak tidur pukul 10. So maksudnya awak akan ada banyak masa untuk awak complete things. Tapi bila awak cuba untuk menangguhkan waktu solat ni, dia akan jadi malas, last kali tidur gitu je lah. Tu yang jadi problem tu. So sebab tu saya punya my advice is that bila hidup pula, saya terbaca dia punya komen terus saya sebut bila hidup. In a day, throughout the day tu, when it comes to waktu solat, cuba bila dengar azan tu letak kejap benda kat tepi, terus pergi solat dulu. Sebab bila awak solat awal waktu ni, awak akan rasa the gap in between solat tu panjang sebenarnya. Awak akan rasa lama pun sebenarnya dari maghrib nak ke isyak, sebenarnya walaupun maghrib ke isyak tu sangat pendek, tapi kalau betul-betul awak solat bila azannya awak dengar azan awak terus solat, awak akan rasa lama juga sebenarnya dari maghrib nak tunggu ke isyak tu. Boleh buat macam-macam. Dia boleh buat macam-macam antara maghrib dengan isyak tu. Tapi dia jadi problem bila awak dengar azan, awak kata, oh awal lagi, baru nak pergi mandi lah, baru nak pergi buat semua benda. Itu yang jadi bila awak akan jadi struggle, dia jadi macam struggle lepas tu. Baru je solat maghrib, tiba-tiba alah nak kena solat isyak pula. Dia jadi malas nak bangun balik. Itu yang jadi problem tu. Sebab tu saya kata solat pada awal waktu. And then you have to balance the times for your spiritual needs and your physical needs. Sometimes most of us macam kadang-kadang terlupa lah. Sebab tu saya kata dalam hadis tadi ada cerita pasal apa? Ni'matan maghbunun fihima. Yang tu al-siha wal faragh. Bila kita ada masa yang banyak ni, sometimes kita akan terlupa untuk mendekatkan diri balik kepada Allah. Sebab kenapa dia kata kesihatan? Sebab apa? Waktu orang sihat mana ada tiba-tiba orang kata Alhamdulillah aku boleh bangun hari ni. Tak ada. Ada tu ada tapi jarang lah. Tapi kalau awak sakit, confirm benda pertama awak akan ingat is that awak akan berdoa banyak, bukan ingat lah, awak akan banyak lagi berdoa kepada Allah compared tu bila awak sihat. So that is why sometimes benda ni jadi something yang yang buatkan kita leka pada benda dunia pada akhirat sikit. So you have to balance your life, you have to balance your spiritual needs, you have to balance with your physical needs. So that is how you manage your time. So we have 7 tricks altogether, and I've mentioned about the times in Al-Quran, how important times in Al-Quran, until Allah have used or have mentioned many words about times in Al-Quran. So I think moving on to the last part lah, Q&A session. If you have any questions, we have about berapa? More or less 14 minutes. Banyak tu. Yes, any questions?
Sure, any question from participants? You can write on the chat box or just unmute and speak. Inshallah, Ustaz will answer the question.
So should I spend one day of resting and stuff? Okay, bila tanya pasal should I spend one day of resting and stuff, it based on your needs sebenarnya. Sometimes kan, we have macam kalau saya sendirilah, I'm talking about my very own experience. Sebab when we are talking about time management atau manage times ni, dia based on it differs from one to another. It's based on your needs sebenarnya. So when you think that you really need a day off resting and stuff, tapi dengan syarat memang yang awak one day off ni memang something yang memang awak betul-betul perlukan lah. It is not something yang awak take it for granted. For example, oh aku malas, bukan sebab malas tapi sebab awak perlu. Kenapa? Contoh perlu ni adalah bila mana awak terlalu burn out with things tau. Bila mana awak terlalu memang awak dah tak boleh nak go dah dengan benda tu, sampaikan satu tahap you need a day off, then you may go for that things. Sebab apa tahu? Kalau awak terlalu push yourself to complete things and at the same time you feel very stressful, dia akan affect awak punya kehidupan seterusnya. Dekat sini yang nanti akan ada health problem, sama ada physical or mental. So if you think that you have to spend one day off resting and stuff, then you go. But then you have to make sure that lepas tu awak boleh catch up balik lah dengan everything that you have left behind. Next question apa ni? What if kita dah buat daily timetable tapi suddenly ada clash, contohnya parents minta tolong atau ajak keluar? What should we do? Okay. Parents minta tolong. Okay, ni antara challenges that we have when we have online distance learning. Sebab apa? Dia macam awak bukan terbeban lah. Macam jahat pula guna word terbeban. Awak macam ada dua tanggungjawab yang awak kena penuhi. Tanggungjawab sebagai pelajar dan tanggungjawab sebagai anak. But sometimes, bila parents ajak keluar ke apa ni, saya rasa kalau ajak keluar ni, kalau benda yang tak penting ni, saya rasa you can explain to the parents kot. Maksudnya awak cerita lah, you have classes and you have to attend classes and awak boleh cerita kelas tu apa-apa. Most of parents akan faham je benda ni sebenarnya, since we have, we are used to have these things for quite some times, dah dekat 2 tahun or more ke belum? Something like that lah, setahun lebih or 2 years. So bila dia ajak keluar ke apa tu, I think you can explain very well. You can explain lah kepada parents that you have classes during that time so that you can't really go out with them. Tapi kalau macam contoh keluar, tak tahu lah, kalau keluar ni tengok jugalah macam mana. Kalau macam contoh, for me lah, kalau nak ajak keluar kan, benda tu tak penting, that here it comes to prioritizing things. Kalau keluar sekadar nak pergi makan-makan ataupun nak pergi happy-happy seronok-seronok, but then you have classes at that time, I will go for classes actually. Sebab classes is more important than things. Saya tak cakap awak kena derhaka dengan mak ayah kat sini. Nanti susah pula nanti dia faham suruh derhaka dengan mak ayah pula. Cumanya sekarang you have to explain dekat parents that okay, during this time I have classes to attend. And kita boleh je keluar later ataupun sebab kelas kita pun selalunya tak adalah sampai malam. Kita ada, melainkan ada kelas-kelas ganti ke apalah. We have classes paling lewat pun sampai pukul 6. So after that you can go out with your families. During the weekend you can go out with the families. Kalau macam minta tolong tu, ini antara benda yang selalu saya terimalah waktu kelas-kelas ni. Ustaz, saya nak kena pergi kedai lah, mak suruh beli ikan. Dia macam when it comes to parents dengan anak ni, dia susah sikit lah kita nak cakap. Sebab kalau parents minta tolong, actually both situations awak boleh explain yang awak ada kelas actually. Tapi sometimes kita susah juga untuk nak dapatkan that things. Macam sometimes dah tak ada orang sangat dekat rumah tu. So sebab tu kita mak ayah minta tolong kita. So because of that, apa yang macam kalau saya dengan student saya lah, apa yang saya buat dengan student saya is that, kalau selalunya saya tak tahulah student saya ni, memang selalu dia orang kalau ada apa-apa dia akan bagi tahu kat saya dulu. So saya akan cakap okay, then kalau dah tak ada apa-apa, tak boleh orang lain sangat pergi, then you can go. But then you have to attend my class juga. Awak tak boleh nak ambil benda tu sebagai macam nak pergi shopping lenggang-lenggang, masuk pergi pusing keliling tawaf kedai 15 kali. Tak. Awak pergi kedai, beli apa yang patut, tolong apa yang patut kejap, and then lepas tu masuk kelas saya. Tak kisah lewat sikit, tak apa. Sebab sometimes when we are there at home, kita macam rasa serba salah untuk menolak. They are our parents. And dalam masa yang sama, saya tak tahu awak rasa serba salah ke tak untuk tak datang kelas. So, serba salah tak tolong parents tu saya confirm. Serba salah tak datang kelas tu saya tak confirm. So, bila these two things happen, awak pun kena, that here it comes to prioritizing things lah. Kalau awak tak boleh juga, which is awak kena juga tolong your parents, paling pun you have to inform your lecturers lah during that time. At least dia tahu, awak masuk kelas lambat sebab ni, awak tak datang kelas sebab ni. At least dia tahu. Sometimes they can be considerate lah with the things. Tapi jangan take it for granted lah. Jangan sampai setiap kali kelas, Ustaz saya nak kena pergi kedai, Ustaz saya nak kena pergi beli baju. Banyak cantik macam kau. Jangan So that is my answer. Tapi you
Masa.
have to start with explaining things that you have classes. Selalunya parents dah faham dah sebab sekarang dah ada dah berapa lama dah kita ada benda ni. Selalunya dia faham pun. Macam contoh, parents selalu akan tanya pun awak ada kelas tak hari ni, pukul berapa. Selalunya dia akan plan pas kelas baru dia akan keluar. Okay, yes, any other question?
So I think this is our last question
Okay.
from Hazrin. Nak habis dah sir? Nak habis dah Ustaz? Last question. Ni related for our station because we are at the end of semester but they have many assignments. So macam ni kita nak manage the time to study dengan time for assignment sebab bila nak final lah makin banyak assignment kan. Apa-apa tak banyak pula.
Okay. Saya faham memang makin hujung makin bertimbun-timbun, berbukit-bukit dia jadinya. Macam mana awak nak manage time to study and time to complete the assignment kan? Sebenarnya kan, study is not something yang awak akan, saya cakap by teori memang gitu lah, tapi selalunya saya sendiri pun last minute study. Tapi saya boleh share dengan awak apa yang saya buat. What can we do is that study sebenarnya adalah something yang very continuous from the beginning of the semester sampai hujung. But then we tend to accumulate things dekat hujung. Sebab tu bila jadi kat hujung tu macam alamak tak ada masa nak study, nak buat assignment lagi. Ni last kali semua benda kau tak buat. Itu yang jadi problem. Tapi macam mana saya kalau macam ada assignment yang banyak, saya akan set prioritize based on these things. Yang pertama, awak list down semua assignment dan awak list down semua deadline dia bila. So bila awak list down deadline ni, awak kena tengok deadline dia. Yang mana dulu, itu awak letak atas dulu. Okay, itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, sometimes deadline dia dulu. Deadline dia awal. Tapi kerja dia simple. So second thing yang awak kena buat adalah selepas list list down ikut deadline, awak kena list down ikut darjah keberatan. Apa punya ayat tu? Maksudnya the difficulties of completing the assignment tu lah. Yang mana perlukan effort yang lagi tinggi. Tapi dia punya macam contoh kan, ada assignment A ni, dia punya deadline dia minggu depan hari Jumaat. Tapi dia punya assignment dia macam sekadar 3 pages of short articles ke apa macam tu je. So itu macam very simple punya benda. Ada satu lagi assignment B ni, dia punya deadline dia lambat lagi, which is next Jumaat next weeknya tu, ada 2 weeks time lagi. Tapi dia punya assignment dia kena ada macam 15 pages of assignment, consist of 10 references from different articles, different books, different. Yang ni memerlukan masa yang lama. Walaupun deadline dia jauh lagi, maybe awak boleh naikkan dia ke atas compared to yang deadline yang awal. Sebab itu perlukan effort yang lagi tinggi. So 2 things yang saya akan tengok. Yang pertama is deadline dia, and then yang kedua is dia punya darjah kesusahan dia, difficulties dia. And then in terms of study kan, what I have done before is that saya akan go into classes dengan skirping A4 paper. Macam dulu waktu saya belajar dulu, saya akan masuk kelas dengan skirping atau 2 keping A4 paper dengan 3 batang pen. Yang pen merah, hitam dengan biru. Dan saya akan catat je everything yang apa lecturers cakap during the lecture. And then lepas tu apa yang saya buat adalah waktu nak exam tu, saya dah tak akan buka buku lagi tau. Benda yang saya tulis tu akan jadi saya punya rujukan. Dan alhamdulillah setakat ni okey juga. Saya rasa itu yang perlu. So I think I can conclude everything kot before we end the session. So untuk managing times, you have to remember this one verse of Al-Quran. A'udzubillahi minasyaitanirrajim. Yes. Wa qalu ma hiya illa hayatuna dunya namut wa nahya wa ma yuhlikuna illa ad-dahr. Wa ma lahum bidzalika min ilmin inhum illa yadhunnun. What does it mean? And they say, there is not but our worldly life, we die and live, and nothing destroys us except time. And they have of that no knowledge, and they are only assuming. So we live in this world and we die in this world. You have to when we live in this world, our aim is that to have a very good life in the hereafter. And that is why we have to manage our times. And sometimes it can benefit us, and sometimes it can destroy us. So because of that, you have to have a very good time management. And anything that you do in life, you have to remember this surah, which is Surah Al-Asr. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. So these are the things that you have to do in order to have to not live as a orang yang rugi lah. Innal insana lafi khusr. So I think that is all from me. If you have anything to ask or anything to apa je dah lepas ni, you can contact me kalau awak nak lah. And thank you for everyone for listening and having lending your ears for me throughout these sessions. And I'll give the session back to of ceremony, Brother Faris. Tafadhal.
Alhamdulillah, jazakallah khairan jazak for Ustaz Kimi for the talk, which is the time management. So we get many input of how we as students to manage our time according to the priority and what we need to do for manage our time. So I will remind for the participants to sign the attendance at the I attend in the end of sessions, because we have another session on the 11 a.m. So I will encourage all of the participants to ready for the next session, which is at 11 a.m. And one more thing that I want to remind is the evaluation form, which is happy to fill in the end of session. This is the compulsory for all the students to fill in the evaluation form. And lastly, last but not least, I would promote for all the participants to subscribe the masjid YouTube set first. Boleh lah pakai subscribe kan. So I think that's all for our first session. So I think we could end our first session today with Salatul Asr and Tasbih Kafar. Alright, thank you everyone. We see in this next session, inshallah.